One of the important components of prehistoric cultures, we have started with Paleolithic cultures, and we have learned what are the characteristic features of Paleolithic cultures, and especially how the so-called implements like weapons were made of. There was a typical stone called, what is the name of this stone? Quartzite. When it comes to Mesolithic cultures, we have learned the other characteristic features of Mesolithic cultures. Especially we emphasized on handmade pottery. Reason being, the sites of Paleolithic cultures were located near valleys, near on the banks. When it comes to the sites of Mesolithic cultures were located away from valleys. Simple, right? Reason being, handmade pottery. When it comes to Neolithic cultures, we are going to experience one more development, in fact, that can be branded as revolutionary, that can be branded as radical development, that is wheel-made pottery. Handmade pottery associated with Mesolithic cultures, wheel-made pottery associated with Neolithic cultures. So in this session, let us understand what were the characteristic features of Neolithic cultures and what kind of developments which took place in Neolithic cultures, and these developments branded by a group of archaeologists and historians as Neolithic Revolution. Neolithic Revolution. So now the patent questions of competitive exams, when you go through previous question papers of competitive exams, which one of the following scholars branded the developments which took place in Neolithic cultures as Neolithic Revolution? It was Sir John Lubbock that will be discussed. Now, my point is, you shall understand what were the developments which took place in Neolithic cultures and how these developments brought revolutionary or radical changes in the evolution of human history. Now, with this background, let us start with Neolithic cultures. So as far as Neolithic is concerned, new, lithic, stone, new Stone Age cultures, old Stone Age cultures, middle Stone Age cultures, now new Stone Age cultures. We have learnt in the previous session, cultures, prehistoric cultures were classified not on the basis of chronology but on the basis of tool making technology. Paleolithic tools, primitive in nature, rude in nature. By the time Mesolithic, smaller in size, sharp in nature, and by the time Neolithic, further smaller in size, further sharper in nature. No doubt, all tools were made of stones only. But the moment we found the so-called technology which forced these people to be called as Neolithic cultures. So as far as the characteristic features of Neolithic cultures concerned, we found agriculture. Agriculture, I'm talking about the features, you call features of Neolithic cultures. So what does it mean by agriculture? You understand in this way, Neolithic people started learning an art called art of cultivation, as simple as it is. When we understand the economic subsistence of prehistoric cultures, Paleolithic, that is hunting and gathering. Hunting and gathering. That is the reason we branded Paleolithic people as nomads, moving from one place to another place. Obviously, with bands and all that. By the time Mesolithic, we found animals. That is domestication of animals. And you can ask the question, when men, right, keep aside Paleolithic, Mesolithic, right, when people entered in a new phase called Mesolithic, does that mean the old cultures, the old habits, or the old way of life deserted by the people? The answer is no. The best example, the economic subsistence of Paleolithic people, hunting and gathering. When it comes to the economic subsistence of Mesolithic people, domestication of animals. I'm talking about only economic livelihood, please. Domestication of animals was given first priority by Mesolithic people. When it comes to hunting and gathering was given second priority. That is the significance of Indian culture. Though we invite new elements, we never had an habit of deserting the old ones or old elements. Now we call this process as cultural continuation, we call it. Cultural continuation. It is not exaggerated to say that totally only 2 countries on the earth which follow even today the old systems. One is India, second one is China. Whatever ancient people followed, you call social institutions, you call political institutions, economic institutions, religious institutions. Even today, more or less, in one form or the other form, we follow the same institutions. Maybe domestication of animals, what do we call today? Animal husbandry. That's it. And obviously, hunting and gathering, it's one of the famous activities of tribals. And when it comes to agriculture, Neolithic, you can't imagine Indian economy without agriculture. We'll be going to discuss in subsequent slides. Indus people, Indus Valley civilization, Indus people worshipped animals. The bull worship. Even today, we worship the bulls. Over a period of time, we'll be going to discuss Aryans worshipped cow. Even today, we worship cow. Worship of the so-called trees. And you can't imagine Hindu religion without worship of trees, without worship of snakes and all. Like snake cult we call it. The best example, Nagala Chauthi. Em chestar Nagala Chauthi roju? Maku telusle sir, paalaku పాలు పోస్తారు. పాలకు పాములు పోయాడు సార్, పాములకు పాలు పోస్తారు అనమాట. తాగుతాయి పాలు? మళ్ళీ ఎందుకు పోస్తారు? ఏమో సార్ మా మమ్మీ చెప్పింది పోయామని ఎందుకు పోస్తున్నాం. ఫర్ యువర్ కైండ్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్, పాములు పాలు తాగవు, తాగితే చచ్చిపోతాయి. అప్రస్తుతం జస్ట్ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ అనమాట. నీకెట్టి తెలుసు సార్, బుక్కులో రాశారనమాట, ఎస్పెషలీ సైన్స్ బుక్స్లో రాశారనమాట. Fine, keeping aside this stuff, my point is, be it Mesolithic, be it Neolithic, be it even Chalcolithic. By the time Neolithic, that is, agriculture was the base. When I say agriculture, not modern agriculture, primitive agriculture, wild variety of crops you call them. So when I say Neolithic people cultivated wild variety of crops, it does not mean they abandoned domestication of animals, they abandoned hunting and gathering. You understand, in this way, agriculture was given first priority, followed by domestication of animals, followed by hunting and gathering. Now you shall in a position to interlink this. This is where the questions generally being twisted. Questions ఎక్కడి నుంచో తీసుకురండి, ఉన్న దాంట్లో కొంచెం ట్విస్ట్ చేస్తారనమాట. If you are able to connect it, you are in. If not, మళ్ళీ రెడ్ వచ్చి మొదలు పెట్టాను, ఫస్ట్ నుంచి రావాలి. Obviously it takes 1.5 years and all that. So whatever you have, whatever you learn with clarity kind of. So agriculture, it's one of the economic subsistence of Neolithic people. One more, so characteristic feature you call it, besides agriculture, that is wheel-made pottery. Wheel-made pottery. So as far as Mesolithic cultures are concerned, we have learned handmade pottery. Chetito తయారు చేసే కుండలు we call it. When it comes to wheel-made pottery, kummari chakramu antam telugu. So all are Telugu, sir, some non-Telugus, one or two, right? Non-Telugus, right? अच्छा, काइज़ाला, हाँ? हम काइज़ाला नहीं होते सर, हम ओडिशा के, कोई बात नहीं, गुड, चलो, कोई बात नहीं. So wheel-made pottery, please. The parts from wheels, right? When it comes to wheel-made pottery, obviously, when we understand, and next slide I'll be going to talk about the so-called sites of Neolithic cultures. Once again, we shall understand the sites of Neolithic cultures were located away from river valleys, right? Besides, the wheel brought revolutionary changes in the human history, especially in Neolithic people. Speedy development, you call it, right? Earlier, if they wanted to move from one place to another place, obviously on foot, right? Now we have wheel, some sort of bullock carts, primitive bullock carts I'm talking about, right? Speedy development, obviously it brought revolutionary change. That's what one of the British archaeologists by name Sir John Lubbock, he says, wheel brought revolutionary changes in the history of humankind. Chakra, wheel brought revolutionary changes. So besides agriculture, we found wheel-made pottery. One more feature, that is emergence of village communities. What kind of village communities? Full village communities, you call them. Emergence of village communities. Thanks to the agriculture, which forced people to settle at one place. The credit goes to agriculture, please. When I say emergence of village communities, the credit goes to agriculture. Agriculture always gives settled life. Paleolithic, hunting and gathering. That is the reason we branded them nomads. And even in Mesolithic period, domestication of animals never brought settled life. Pastoral economy, domestication of animals is nothing but pastoral economy. So pastoral economy, obviously you need to move from one place to another place. When it comes to agriculture, yes, agriculture brought radical changes. When I say radical changes, it forced people to settle at one place. So agriculture followed by wheel-made pottery, followed by village communities, and it's quite interesting to know we found some sort of conflicts. So we didn't know exact reasons why conflicts took place, but we found conflicts. The credit goes to rock paintings, please. What are the sources through which we were making efforts to the various cultures, the lives of various cultures? Obviously through archaeological sources. You call tools, you call weapons, stone weapons, copper weapons, jars, pottery, and obviously paintings and all that. So on many paintings we found a band of people started fighting with each other. So some sort of a group of people you call confederation versus confederation. Confederation, a group of people, group of leaders, group of political parties, alliance you call them. Confederation versus confederation. Another, what do we call, change which we found in Neolithic cultures. And besides, we also found primitive beliefs. Primitive beliefs. When I say primitive beliefs, that is the worship of natural elements, please. The worship of natural elements, and natural forces you call them. The worship of snakes, worship of trees. Besides, we also found the practice called trephination, please. Especially at a place called Burjaham. The practice called trephination, which we found at Burjaham, please. Burjaham is one of the prominent Neolithic sites located in Kashmir, please. Burjaham, Kashmir. We referred in the previous sessions, trephination, it's a primitive way of curing diseases. Primitive way of curing diseases. Trephination we call it. Besides agriculture, different professions. So it was the gentleman who branded Neolithic cultures as Neolithic Revolution. It was Gordon Child, the British archaeologist, come historian. By looking at the developments of Neolithic cultures, he branded them as Neolithic revolution. Strictly speaking, we found two: Sir John Lubbock. So look at the board. Sir John Lubbock, Gordon Child. The fundamental difference between Gordon Child and Sir John Lubbock: Sir John Lubbock, one of the British archaeologists come historian, authored many books on prehistoric cultures, especially a book on Neolithic revolutions. It was the gentleman who coined the term called Neolithic or New Stone Age cultures. If the question comes, the first scholar to use the term called Neolithic cultures or the term called Neolithic, no second thought, Gordon Child, British archaeologist. As I was telling in the previous sessions, be it archaeology, Indus Valley civilization, prehistoric cultures, be it history, right from the days of Vedic civilization, it was discovered, it was written by not Indian historians, but by British archaeologists and British historians. So little later it was rewritten by Indian historian. That is another story. Reason being, we were ruled by British, as simple as. And they had immense taste as far as past is concerned. అంటే ఎవరికైతే పాస్ట్ ఉండదో వాళ్ళకు దాని యొక్క విలువ తెలుస్తుంది. మన దగ్గర ఉంది కాబట్టి మనకు తెలియదు. We had extensive past which can be dated back to 2500 BC. When it comes to English history, which starts from 1st century AD. When it comes to American history, which starts from 15th century AD. 1493, the year in which Christopher Columbus discovered America. 1493 is nothing but 15th century. అలాగే అప్పుడు బట్టలు కూడా కట్టుకోవడం తెలియదు అన్నమాట. Now we had learned a lot of progress. So my point is, when we don't have an element, we make efforts to get that element. In that context, when we understand British historians, British archaeologists, fortunately or unfortunately, they discovered Indus Valley civilization, and they were also responsible for discovery of various sites which are associated with prehistoric cultures. Now when it comes to then which historian or say archaeologist who branded the Neolithic developments as Neolithic revolution, it was Sir John Lubbock. Sir John Lubbock, you can write down the name of the gentleman. Sir John Lubbock branded the developments of Neolithic. Sir John Lubbock branded the developments of Neolithic cultures, as Neolithic revolution. Right. What does it mean by revolution? Fantastic. Sudden change. Good. Sudden change. Evolution. Gradual change. Good. So generally history taught us evolution. Be it revolution which is meant for change, be it evolution which also meant for change. And we have many technical terms that will be discussed as part of modern Indian history. We have movement, we have revolt, protest, band, hartal, different technical terms. Right? All are meant for the way, the method is different. Right? Now let us confine to the topic, that is revolution versus evolution. What forced Sir John Lubbock to brand the various developments which took place in Neolithic cultures as revolution? Right? So revolution meant for change, no doubt, and even evolution also meant for change. The fundamental difference between revolution and evolution, revolution which means sudden change, when it comes to evolution, gradual change. So what does it mean by sudden change? So whatever institutions which had been continued and all of a sudden all these institutions were replaced by new institution, we call this phenomenon as revolution. Getting abnormal changes, that process, that phenomenon, historians called, the scholars branded it as a revolution. And history taught us revolution always associated with violence. Always, right? And don't ask then how about Neolithic revolution. This is exception, please. Revolution means sudden change, and revolutions are associated with violence. For example, French Revolution. French Revolution of 1789. Try to understand how French Revolution brought sudden change. Right? Before 1789 or July 14th, before July 14, 1789, when we understand the French political system, it was under monarchical form of government. Bourbon dynasty. Right? So first Louis, second Louis, third Louis, 14th Louis, 15th Louis, 16th Louis. Right? The rulers of Bourbon dynasty were popularly called as Louis, right? Who are tyrannical, despots, whatnot, inefficient. They never treated their people with all sorts of content, equalities and all, right? Outcome, people got fed up, organized revolution against monarchical form of government, resulted on 14th July 1789, we found republican form of government. So monarchical form of government experienced by France right from 1st century to 18th century. 1789 is nothing but 18th century. Because of one event, monarchy was replaced by republic. It's nothing but sudden change. So a revolution is nothing but sudden change. So in order to witness change, it doesn't take days together, please. Because the change comes abruptly. Then how about evolution? If you want to witness change in evolution, you need to wait decades together. Evolution. The best example, Indian national movement. Ogaina, 3Ps antadu. Prayers, petitions, protest. Inkogaina Swaraj antadu. Inkogaina boycott antadu. Vande Matra movement, home rule movement. Adi workout gaale. Then went for non-cooperation movement. British వాళ్ళు వాటర్ అడిగితే ఇవ్వకండి అని చెప్పి ఒక ఆయన అంటాడు, నాన్ కోఆపరేషన్. సల్ల అడుగుతారు, ఇవ్వకండి అని చెప్పాడు, ఇంకొక ఆయన అంటాడు. ఫాలోడ్ బై సివిల్ డిజోబీడియన్స్ మూమెంట్, డోంట్ పే ట్యాక్సెస్, ఇంకొక ఆయన అంటాడు. క్విట్ ఇండియా మూమెంట్, అన్న ఆయన జైల్లో కూర్చుంటారు, ఎల్లోళ్ళు పల్ల వేయించుకుంటారు, ఇంకొక ఆయన అంటాడు. సో ఎవల్యూషన్ ప్లీజ్, గ్రాడ్యువల్ చేంజ్, మెల్లగా కబాత ఆత వెయిట్ కరు అని చెప్తారు. రెవల్యూషన్ వర్సెస్ ఎవల్యూషన్. Then how about evolution? Evolutions obviously associated with non-violence. Now with this, yes, peace. With this background, when we understand that is Neolithic revolution, all of a sudden we found radical changes in the history of humankind. Radical changes. That is the reason Sir John Lubbock and his team prefer to call these developments as Neolithic revolution. Some sort of agriculture. So as far as sites of Neolithic cultures are concerned, the sites, important sites to be discussed. Even the same gentleman, you can write down this statement. It was made by Sir John Lubbock. So he says, this is the final stage of cultural evolution or technological development among prehistoric humans. Right? The final stage of cultural evolution, he says. As I was telling, the Neolithic cultures generally were associated with agriculture, which forced people to settle at one place. Consequently, we found village settlements. Right? So these are the tools belonging to different cultures. The primitive way of cultivating the crops based. The same, whatever like the primitive method, that is flood plain cultivations, otherwise called as shifting cultivation, that will be discussed in detail as part of Indus Valley civilization. Floodplain cultivation or shifting cultivation. Even today we use in North India jhum cultivation. Telugulo manamu podu vyavasayam untundi. Different technical terms, the same system. Now these are the important sites. As we referred in the previous session, we have two valleys, two rivers, Belan Valley and Bolan Valley. When it comes to Belan Valley, UP, Uttar Pradesh. When it comes to Bolan Valley, Pakistan. So when it comes to Mehergarh, write down one fact related to Mehergarh. The first people to cultivate, can anyone? The first people to cultivate rice. When it comes to Kuldiva, Belan Valley, UP, Uttar Pradesh, Kuldiva, followed by Burjaham, Himalayan Valley, Kashmir, Burjaham. The significance of Burjaham, as I was telling, trephination practices were discovered here. Trephination practices were discovered. Besides trephination practices, another significant aspect of Burjaham, the people of Burjaham built houses not on the earth but inside the earth. Not on the earth but inside the earth. The people of Burjaham built or constructed the so-called primitive houses not on the earth but inside the earth. What was the reason? Any wild guess? What's it? Fantastic. Low temperature. Burjaham. Where Burjaham comes in? Kashmir. Kashmir. So the weather, the climatic conditions forced people to construct houses not on the earth but inside the earth. And one more. Chirand. Gangetic Valley, Bihar. So even online students also says low temperature, climatic conditions. Chirand, Bihar. The significance of Chirand, the large scale bone tools were discovered, you call it. Large scale bone tools, Chirand, Bihar, near Patna, please. Large scale bone tools were discovered. The best example of the Mehergarh settlements, this is a Mehergarh settlement, please. Northwestern India, modern Pakistan, Mehergarh settlement. Right, it's all about, when it comes to the last component of prehistoric cultures, that is Chalcolithic cultures. Chalcolithic cultures, otherwise called as Metal Age cultures, both are same. Chalcolithic cultures are Metal Age cultures. So we have learnt in the previous session the use of metals in India. Which was the first metal to be used? Copper. Copper by Chalcolithic people. In and around 5000 BC, copper was used, followed by bronze. In and around 2500 BC, years are not important, just to have an idea, please. When it comes to iron, in and around 1000 BC, that is by Gangetic Aryans, otherwise called as later Vedic Aryans. So when I say the age of metals, copper, stone age cultures we call them. That is Chalcolithic. Chalco, which means copper, lithic, which means stone. So copper, stone age cultures. I'm talking about the etymological meaning of Chalcolithic cultures. Copper, stone age cultures. So when I say copper, stone age cultures, the implements, the weapons which we found besides stone and even copper. That is the reason historians branded copper was the first known metal to be used by Chalcolithic people. And obviously, as far as Indian context is concerned, gold. Chapter 1, chapter 2, please. What is this chapter 1, chapter 2? Idi gurtuntadi. KGF, Kolar Gold Field, South India. Kolar Gold Field. So whenever you come across a question, when I say Chalcolithic people imported gold from which of the following sites? No second thought. Go for South India, please. When I say South India, Karnataka. Karnataka is nothing but KGF, Kolar Gold Fields. Besides Karnataka, Chalcolithic people also imported gold from Central Asia, please. When I say in Central Asia, we found many contemporary cultures in Central Asia. And these cultures over a period of time emerged or assumed the color and character called civilization. In India, we have Indus Valley civilization. In Central Asia, we have Mesopotamian civilization. So cultural contacts. Besides commercial contacts, we also found some sort of cultural contacts. So already we referred in the previous session, copper, bronze and iron placed. So as you says, gold was used by Neolithic people. Gold never acted as a metal placed. When I say metal, we were using here the term which is meant for to make implements, right? For day-to-day use. Obviously, forget about gold placed. The tools were made of stone, besides stone, copper. Besides stone, bronze. Besides stone, iron. In this sense, we shall understand, right, the important sites of Chalcolithic cultures. So during archaeological excavations, we found various what we call tools and implements which are made of say copper, and little later we also found bronze and other metals. To begin with, Ahar culture, Ahar site you call it, Rajasthan please. Ahar, it's the name of the village today, Ahar, Rajasthan. The significance of Rajasthan, where we found Khetri mines please. Khetri mines. Khetri mines are known for copper. How Kolar mines are known for gold, Khetri mines are known for copper. Besides Ahar, we have Gilind. Once again Rajasthan please. Ahar and Gilind. ఈ ఆహార్ అండ్ గిలింద్కి two arrow marks తీసుకోండి. The significance of Ahar and Gilind. Large scale copper tools were discovered, you call it. Large scale copper tools were discovered. Next, Gungaria. So need not to tell you whenever like come across sites, you understand in this way, the sites are named after modern villages, right? We have learnt in the previous session, inscriptions are named after the places from where they discovered. For example, Aihole inscription or Aihole inscription. For example, Allahabad inscription. For example, Nasik inscription. Apply the same towards battles. Battles are also named after the places from where they fought. Battle of Plassey, Battle of Buxar, Battle of Panipat. Right? Apply the same towards treaties. Treaties are named after the places from where they conclude. For example, to make you understand, First World War came to an end with a treaty called Treaty of Versailles, a Treaty of Paris. Versailles, it's the name of the palace which is located in Paris. So treaties, battles, inscriptions, including sites. Reason being, we were using like the sites frequently, please. So what does it mean by sites? It's the name of the place. Once we enter into Indus Valley civilization, once again we recite the term called sites. Harappa, it's one of the important sites is it. Mohenjo-daro, Lothal, Kalibangan, Chenhu-daro, some XYZ sites, right? So modern locations or modern names of the villages you call them. So Gungaria, Madhya Pradesh, followed by Malwa, Madhya Pradesh. The significance of Malwa, you call it, it was a fortified settlement, you call it. Fortified settlement or fortified site. So what does it mean by fortified settlement or fortified site? Like this particular site has got walls, you call it, surrounding walls. Fortification we call it. Some sort of fort, kota antam telugu. Fort, fortification. Malwa, Madhya Pradesh. Followed by Hastinapur. Not Hyderabad wala Hastinapur. Hastinapur, Delhi, near Delhi. And finally, Jorve, Maharashtra. Chalo, look at the board. Unimportant, just to have an idea. It's an what do we call academic discussion. Ahar, Gilind, Jorve. The prominent sites of Chalcolithic cultures. The prominent sites of Chalcolithic cultures, and these sites became some sort of head branches or headquarters, you call them. That is the reason archaeologists classified Chalcolithic cultures into half a dozen important cultures. So for example, to make you understand, we have Ahar cultures, they call it. Ahar. When I say Ahar cultures, one of the sub-components of Chalcolithic cultures. Gilin cultures, sub-component of Chalcolithic. Jarve, sub-component of Chalcolithic. For us, unimportant, which is meant for academics, right? Keep aside. So the the tools made of bronze and other allied metals, right? Copper, not bronze, please, copper. Right? The tools made of gold, please. Right? Obviously from KGF. Hero ఒక డైలాగ్ చెప్తాడన్నమాట, మీ దగ్గర కొన్ని కోట్లు ఉన్నాయి, నా దగ్గర బీరువా మొత్తం బంగారమే అని చెప్తాడన్నమాట. మాకు తెలుసులేదు సార్, సినిమా చూసినాం. Right, it's all about Chalcolithic cultures based. So now with this background, the next chapter, start with next chapter, star mark conditions apply in new page. akkadi geetalu gotti meeku dannam pedta, akkadi geetalu pedta, akkadi raayukondi. So second chapter, respect the chapters, obviously by giving the space. Indus Valley civilization. The span of Indus Valley civilization, that is 2500 BC to 1750 BC. In fact, these are the chapters in the previous sessions we have learned. That is chapterization, prehistoric cultures, Indus Valley civilization, followed by Vedic civilization, followed by pre-Mauryan age, post-Mauryan age, Guptan age, and post-Guptan age. So the syllabus organized in a way which is meant for competitive exams based. Be it syllabus of UPSC, general studies, prelims and mains, be it syllabus of group 1 services and group 2 services, including SI and PC. Whatever exam you write follows, right? As I was telling in the previous sessions, in the very first session, that is orientation session. So in an exam, very lower rank exam, please, constable exam, PC, police constable exam, where we found 32 questions from history. When it comes to SI exam, 22 questions from history. So go through the questions, right? Nothing is wrong. Ante mem civil service kada, why the hell we shall go through? Ivi tagginchukovalani cheppedi. Nothing is wrong in going through papers. Even go through degree question papers. Right? How the questions are being asked, in what way we need to answer them. Right? By looking at the question paper, by going through the question paper, we can evaluate ourselves where exactly we were. 2 సంవత్సరాలు చదువుతున్నా, ఏడున్నా, కనీసం అయితనా గానా ఒక బొమ్మ వస్తుంది అన్నమాట. సో దాన్ని మనం పాజిటివ్గా, ఇఫ్ యూ టేక్ దట్ పిక్చర్ యాజ్ ఎ పాజిటివ్ వే, యాజ్ అన్ ఇంట్రాస్పెక్షన్, డెఫినెట్లీ విల్ డెవలప్. లేదు నా వల్ల కాదు, ఏ కూతురు దొరకకపోతే అక్క కూతురు, దట్ ఈస్ అనదర్ స్టోరీ. కీప్ అసైడ్. చలో, now with this background, second chapter, that is Indus Valley civilization. So these are the components we are going to discuss. Please. You need not write, just have an idea, please. ప్రతిదీ ఎక్కించుకుంటా కూర్చోకండి. అప్పుడప్పుడు కొంచెం అంటే అదేదో సినిమాలు చెప్తారు కదా సార్, ఎంత తాగితే ఎంత ఎక్కుతుందని, అంటే ఎంత ఎక్కించుకుంటే ఏం ఎక్కదనమాట. Fine, when we understand the summary of the syllabus, the chapter called Indus Valley civilization, we are going to understand why the civilization which flourished between 2500 BC to 1750 BC had many titles. Followed by boundaries of the civilization. When you go through previous question papers, at least one question you get boundaries. Please match the following: north boundary, Manda; south boundary, can anyone? Daimabad; east boundary, Alamgirpur; west boundary, Sukta Zendar. So on one hand directions, on the other hand boundaries. You need not to buy heart, please. Just ఒక idea పెట్టుకుని చాలు. Especially the aroma of mass are following. If you good at one pair, మెల్లగా లాగొచ్చు అనమాట. అది కూడా లేదంటే తూర్పు తిరిగి దండం నోటుదులా రైట్ होता रहता है. Followed by we are going to discuss who are Indus people. Obviously hypothesis, please. Some ex-scholar came up with hypothesis. The other gentleman came up with another thing. Right? Obviously not that much important for our exam, which is meant for academics. Keep aside. Followed by origin of civilization. We have two broader opinions among the scholars. That is, a group of scholars opine that Indus people hailed from the other civilizations. We'll be going to discuss. In simple, Indus people are not natives or Indians. They hail from some XYZ places and they developed civilization. Then how about another group? Mooskon Goosondi. These people are our people and Nepal. Obviously, Indians came up with their own, when I say Indians, Indian historians and Indian archaeologists. Followed by major towns and cities. That is important cities you call them. For example, Harappa we have, Mohenjo-daro, Chenhu-daro, Lothal, Kalibangan. We have important towns and cities. What kind of discoveries which we made from the respective cities. So as far as major cities are concerned, we are not going to discuss. It's a very factual based. You'll be given a sheet where we'll be going to discuss. Right? You'll be giving the so-called sheet. Right? Full of facts and all that. Keep aside. Followed by another extremely important component, that is characteristic features of Indus Valley civilization. So when you understand town planning, society, economy, religion, political administration, it doesn't take much time in understanding subsequent components. And finally, another hypothesis element, that is downfall, decline of civilization. Now with this background, when we understand the introductory part, you call it. So it was in 1921, please, until 1921. Every country, every department, every scholar, I'm talking about the intellectuals, believe that history of India starts from around 1500 BC. When I say around 1500 BC, that is with the advent of Aryans. Around 1500 BC. As I was telling in the previous session, years are not important, just to have an idea. So the history of India starts from 1500 BC onwards. The question is, what happened in 1921? It was under the guidance of Sir John Marshall. It was under the guidance of Sir John Marshall, the then Director General of Archaeological Survey of India. We are supposed to call Archaeological Survey of British India, but we traditionally call Archaeological Survey of India. It was under his guidance in northwestern India, discoveries, archaeological discoveries took place. Under the guidance of the gentlemen, we have Dayaram Sahni, R.D. Banerjee, group of archaeologists. I'm talking about Indian archaeologists. Outcome, an ancient most civilization discovered by this group. Thereby, the history of India dated back not to 1500 BC, but 2500 BC. So until 1921, there was a perception among these scholars, history of India starts from advent of the Europeans. And we had only 3 civilizations across the globe. One among them was Mesopotamian civilization, followed by Egyptian civilization, followed by Chinese civilization. I'm talking about until 1921. So the entire world believed that only we had ancient most civilizations which flourished in 3rd million BC. 3rd million BC. So with the discoveries of like the sites in northwestern India, and slowly it went on placed. Resulted Indus Valley also joined to the ancient most civilization. Obviously, the credit goes to Archaeological Survey of India, its director Sajjan Marshall. When we understand the brief history of Archaeological Survey of India, it was established in the year 1861. One of the patent questions, right? Archaeological Survey of India established in the year 1861 under the guidance of, can anyone? Fantastic. Alexander Cunningham. That is the reason we consider him as the father of Indian archaeology. Alexander Cunningham was responsible for formation of Archaeological Survey of India, and it was a gentleman who organized ASI. That is the reason he was called as father of ASI. Yes, Indian archaeology, please. Father of Indian archaeology. So you understand, in this way, by 3rd millennium BC, we found 4 contemporary civilizations. Mesopotamian civilization on the banks of river Tigris and Euphrates. Even it's a previous question, match the following. On one hand, names of the civilizations, on the other hand, the respective valleys. Right? So Mesopotamian civilization on the banks of 2 rivers, that is Euphrates and Tigris, the land between 2 rivers. Right? I'm talking about the etymological meaning of Mesopotamia, the land between 2 rivers, that is Euphrates and Tigris. Please. When it comes to Egyptian civilization, can anyone on the banks of river? Koi baat nahi. Response is important. Nile, please. On the banks of river Nile, Egyptian civilization. And when it comes to Chinese, Hoyang Ho, please. Chinese civilization. Then how about Indus Valley on the banks of river Indus and her 5 tributaries and Saraswati. We'll be going to learn a concept, a technical term called Sapta Sindhu, please. Sapta Sindhu. Sapta, 7. Sindhu, river Indus. River Indus and her 5 tributaries and river Saraswati. River Indus and her 5 tributaries, right? And plus river Saraswati. Please. What are the 5 tributaries of river Indus? Can anyone? Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Beas and Satluj. The 5 tributaries, please. Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, or Beas, or Beas, and finally Satluj. So river Indus plus her 5 tributaries plus river Saraswati. Sapta Sindhu region or Sapta Sindhu territory. So you understand, in this way, by 3rd millennium BC, there are 4 contemporary civilizations. 4 contemporary civilizations. Until 1921, the entire world believed only 3, thanks to the Archaeological Survey of India, which gave a new civilization, obviously ancient civilization to the world, that is Indus Valley civilization. So in 3rd millennium BC, we found 4 contemporary civilizations. Contemporary in nature. Samakalinamo antam telugu. Contemporary in nature. So when I say why we were emphasizing contemporary, reason being Indus Valley civilization maintained commercial relations with Egyptian civilization and cultural relations with Egyptian civilization and Mesopotamian civilization, but not with Chinese civilization. Neither commercial relations nor cultural relations. That will be discussed why as part of economy of Indus Valley civilization. Just have content, please. So 1 or 2 facts kind of. Now the contemporary civilizations. Hoyang Ho, river Hoyang Ho otherwise called as Yellow River. And basically it's an yellow river. It was otherwise called as Huanghe. Huanghe is a Chinese term, the English version, sorrow. దుఃఖము అంటే ఏం చేస్తారు సార్, అందరిని తీసుకెళ్తుంది. మనకు ఒకసారి మూసి అందరిని తీసుకెళ్ళింది అన్నమాట. ఊకోసారి గరీబులను వాళ్ళని తీసుకెళ్తుంది. సో ద సారో ఆఫ్ చైనా we call it. When it comes to Mesopotamia, Tigris and Euphrates, followed by Egypt, the Nile, India, Indus Valley. ఈ బొమ్మలన్నీ కూడా అవుట్ ఆఫ్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ అనమాట, అంతేగాని దాంట్లో ఒక గొయ్యి పెట్టి ఇవన్నీ వేసుకోవాల్సిన పని లేదన్నమాట. Fine. So as we referred, Indus Valley civilization, like we were reciting the term called Indus Valley civilization flourished between 2500 BC to 1750 BC. It's one of the previous questions of not general studies prelims, but UPSC optional, like when we were writing a decade ago, according to R.S. Sharma. According to R.S. Sharma, it was his opinion that the civilization flourished between 2500 BC to 1750 BC. And what grounds R.S. Sharma opined or came up with this particular tag on the basis of C14 method, otherwise called as carbon dating method. It was on this, ground, on this criteria, R.S. Sharma opined the civilization flourished between 2500 BC to 1750 BC. Some ex-scholar says, he came up with 3500 BC to 2500 BC, especially Sir John Marshall, the then Director General of Archaeological Survey of India. Some historian came up with other opinion, but maximum scholars, maximum archaeologists supported the view or opinion of R.S. Sharma. So we generally say Indus Valley civilization 2500 BC to 1750 BC. So let me pose very general question, a little bit common sense based. As we have learnt a statement, Indus Valley civilization, it's one of the contemporary civilizations across the globe which flourished in and around 3rd millennium BC. Why didn't Indus Valley civilization maintain either commercial relations or cultural relations with Chinese civilization? What could be the reason? Himalayas. Okay. Any other reason? Tibetan Plateau. Any other? Okay, fine, good. Any other? వాస్తు బాలేదనా? అట్ట పోం సార్, మేము ఇట్ట పోతాం. ఎనీ ఇన్నోవేటివ్ థాట్స్? వాటర్ వేస్, గుడ్. ఇన్ఫ్యాక్ట్ ఆన్సర్ వచ్చింది, మనకు కొత్త కొత్త థాట్స్ ఏమైనా వస్తాయి. జనరల్గా క్వశ్చన్స్ అడిగినప్పుడు కొత్త కొత్త థాట్స్ వస్తాయి అనమాట. ఐ జనరలీ లెర్న్ ఫ్రమ్ స్టూడెంట్స్ అనమాట. అంటే ఇలా కూడా ఆలోచించవచ్చా అని కైండ్ ఆఫ్. గుడ్. వెరీ సింపుల్ రీజన్. Why didn't Indus people maintain either commercial or cultural relations with Chinese civilization? The credit goes to the natural barriers, and in fact which protect India from XYZ people, XYZ say temperature, that is Himalayas. The mode of transportation we'll be going to discuss as part of economy, that is the mode of transportation. Besides land, we also found ships. When I say ships, not Titanic wala ships, primitive ships kind of. Reason being, on what grounds you say Indus people maintain commercial relations with Egyptian civilization and Mesopotamian civilization, which were distance hundreds and thousands of kilometers? The credit goes to seals. The seals of Egyptian civilization and Mesopotamian civilization found on many cities. When I say cities, Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Lothal, Chenhu-daro. The seals of the respective civilizations, only Egyptian and Mesopotamian in and around many towns and cities of Indus Valley civilization, vice versa. The seals of Indus Valley civilization discovered in the towns and cities of Mesopotamian civilization, in the towns and cities of Egyptian. Obviously, on the grounds of seals, we found, when I say that is like, archaeologists came to the conclusion that Indus people maintained commercial and cultural relations, but not with, neither we found any kind of archaeological, what do we call, discoveries, evidences, nor other stuff. Right? So very general conclusion, thanks to Himalayas. A little bit contradictory statement here, especially in the second line. As we referred, Indus people maintained commercial relations and cultural relations with Egyptians and Mesopotamians. Then how about this statement? Right? Here we shall understand Indus people maintained only commercial relations with Egyptians, right? I'm talking about Egyptians. When it comes to Indus people maintained both commercial and cultural relations with Mesopotamians, right? The best example, mother goddess, we'll be going to discuss. Right? The mother goddess of Mesopotamians were called as Ishtar. The mother, even like, even we have Indus Valley civilization, the main deity happened to be mother goddess. In Telugu we call it Amma Talli, mother goddess. Right? When it comes to the mother goddess of Mesopotamia, Ishtar. When it comes to the mother goddess of Egypt, Isis, not terrorist organization, please. We have terrorist organization, ISIS. Can anyone? ISIS stands for Islamic State of, fantastic, Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, ISIS. Tiger जिंदा है, सलमान खान मूवी है सर, इदी गुर्तुंटది మనకు. Whatever, keeping aside the stuff, Isis is a mother, it's the name of the mother goddess of Egypt, and when it comes to Ishtar, the name of mother goddess of Mesopotamia. There are many differences between mother goddesses of Mesopotamia and Harappans, the mother goddess of Egyptians. In simple, there are similarities between Ishtar and the mother goddess of Indus Valley civilization, which indicates Indus people maintained commercial and cultural relations with Mesopotamians. When it comes to like, say Egypt, Indus people maintained commercial relations. When I say Indus people maintained commercial relations, you understand in this way, the commodities of Harappan civilization went to Mesopotamia, from Mesopotamia to Egypt. Right to understand? Indus people did not have direct relations with Egyptian civilization. So my point is, ఒక స్టేట్మెంట్ ఇక్కడ రాసాం, దాన్ని జస్టిఫై చేసుకుంటాం. ఈ ముచ్చట వద్దు సార్, ఎగ్జామ్లో ఏం రాయాలి అది చెప్పు సార్, ఎగ్జామ్లో వస్తే ఏం రాయలేదు. If the question comes in exam, you answer in this way, we found commercial relations between Harappan civilization and Egyptian civilization not through direct way but through indirect way. For example, to make you understand, we have Sindon, please. Sindon or Sindan, different terms, right? Sindon, the term which we found to the cotton of Indus Valley civilization. Very famous commodity in Mesopotamian civilization and in Egyptian civilization. For example, we referred as part of Neolithic cultures, the people of Meherghar produced cotton for the first time, we discussed. Meherghar is one of the important sites of Neolithic cultures. So need not to tell you, like, cultures over a period of time emerged as civilizations. So Sindan, it's one of the great commodities of Indus Valley civilization. We found there is a huge demand in the contemporary civilizations. Right, now with this background, when we understand the titles, even Nandita Krishnan also says, the mode of transportation was not available between Chinese and Indus. thereby no contacts with Chinese. Good. So as far as titles of the civilizations are concerned, we have 4 titles, that is Indus Valley, Harappan civilization, Bronze Age civilization, and Proto-historic age civilization. When I say Harappan civilization, start with Indus Valley civilization. When I say Indus Valley civilization, it was Sir John Marshall, the head of Archaeological Survey of India, under whose guidance the civilization came into limelight. It was a gentleman who branded this civilization as Indus Valley. Reason being, very simple reason, the civilization flourished on the banks of river Indus and her tributaries. Simple. Indus Valley civilization, keep aside. Then how about Harappan civilization? So Harappan civilization, this particular title was named by archaeologists. Unimportant, just to have an idea, right? Why the civilization has so many titles and all. Right? In archaeologists, we found a tradition. Right? How we found a tradition in history. Right? We have learnt in the previous session, in history, historians consider particular development as landmark and they start calculating the years. Now when it comes to archaeologists, right? For example, to make you understand, assume the circle is an Indus Valley civilization. In Indus Valley civilization, we have so many sites, and these sites to be discovered by archaeologists. If they start with a site called X, followed by Y, followed by Z, followed by A, B, C. So assume they have started with a discovery of a site called X, and they consider this X site as type site. And based on this type site, the entire civilization named X civilization, because X site. If they start with B site, I'm talking about first site to be discovered. They named it as a type. So B civilization. Now with this background, in 1921, archaeologists under the guidance of Sir John Marshall discovered a site called Harappa for the first time. Since it was a type site, the entire civilization is named after Harappa, as simple as it is. Harappan civilization we call it. And you can ask the question, does that mean if archaeologists would have discovered Gandhinagar as a first site, that is they would prefer to call this as a Gandhinagar civilization? The answer is yes. That's it. Whatever site, it must be discovered by archaeologists for the first time. With first site, be it largest site or smallest site, keep aside, it must be first site. So Harappan civilization according to archaeologists. So obviously we are going to use frequently the term called Harappans or Indus people, Harappans or Indus people kind of. Don't get confused who are Harappans and who are Indus people, both are same place. Followed by Bronze Age civilization. When I say Bronze Age civilization, we have learnt in the previous session, copper was used by Chalcolithic people, bronze was used by Indus people. For the first time, a metal called bronze was used by Indus people, thereby the civilization is named after bronze. Bronze Age civilization, the best example, dancing girl. It was made of bronze metal. And we also learnt in the previous session, bronze is an alloy metal. It's a mixture of two metals, copper and tin. And finally, proto-historic age civilization. Once again, we have referred in the previous session, that is based on script, history broadly divided into 3 categories, that is prehistoric age, proto-historic age and historic age. Proto-historic age is a phenomena that is script is available but not deciphered. Once again, the credit goes to the script of Indus Valley. So when we understand why Indus script was not deciphered yet, what are the problems with it? When we understand the problems with Indus script, in fact we found on seals, right? Seals which are made of a soft stone called steatite. It's a previous question. The seals of Indus Valley civilization were made of a soft stone called steatite, T-I-T-E, steatite, S-T-E-A-T-I-T-E, steatite. It's a soft stone paste. In fact, we'll be going to have some sort of images, the seals of Indus Valley civilization. So when we observe the seals of Indus Valley civilization, the first line starts with left and it never ends with right, but it continues from right to left, left to right, it went on. This is one of the bumper offers. Why bumper offer? Because there were scripts which were deciphered by scholars. If they start from left, they end with right. Once again, they start from left, right. Never continues. Please. The best example, Arabic, fantastic. Arabic, Urdu, Persian, right? And we have many scripts which starts from right, ends with left. Once again, start from right, ends with left. The best example, Telugu, right? And many other scripts like we call Malayalam, Kannada, Devanagari, right? That is the reason I was using the term called bumper offer, right? And we have many bumper offers, right? One more bumper offer, we found some sort of images, please. Ante veet images ankolla sir, tappadi. Right? Some sort of images. And here, besides images, we also found some sort of numbers, please. Not Roman numbers, some sort of numbers. Right from 1921, even today, scholars breaking the heads to decipher successfully failed. Right? మా వల్ల కాదు దీనికంటే సివిల్ సర్వీస్ ఎగ్జామ్ మేల్ అని అందరు ఇక్కడికి వచ్చారు. దట్ ఈస్ ద రీజన్ ద స్క్రిప్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఇండస్ వ్యాలీ called as serpentine script. Serpentine, like snake, right? Sarpalekhanamu we call it in Telugu. Since it looks like serpentine, we call it serpentine script. It was also called as Boustrophidan. Boustrophidan script. Boustrophidan. It's a Latin term, the English version, zigzag. Boustrophidan script. Since the script also associated with images, a little bit like pics, we also call this script as pictographic script. Pictographic. Chitralekhana, lipi we call it in Telugu. Chitralekhanamu. Some sort of pics, right? Pictographic. So serpentine, Boustrophidan, pictographic. So just have content, please. The scholars who made tireless efforts to decipher the script of Indus Valley civilization, we have S.R. Rao, Father Heras, Raja Ram and Natwar Jha, please. So these are the important scholars. Archaeologists come like, say epigraphists who made efforts to understand the script, please. And these are the seals. So I try to understand like some sort of images, some sort of numbers. The seals were made of steatite paste. As I was telling, it's a soft stone. We have costly stones or gemstones you call them. We have lapis lazuli, chert, different like names we have. Right. Another important component of Indus Valley civilization, boundaries you call it. Boundaries of civilization. So as far as boundaries are concerned, otherwise called as geographical extent, boundaries generally, the nature of boundaries generally like they were static based. But when it comes to Indus Valley civilization, boundaries were never static, but they were dynamic. Right? Try to understand. The Indus Valley civilization, the boundaries of Indus Valley civilization were not static but dynamic. Reason being, to make you understand, we have north, south, east and west. 2 decades ago, the boundary of the boundary, southern boundary, you call it the southern boundary of Indus Valley civilization, Lothal placed. When I say 2 decades ago, somewhere like, in 2002 and 2004, we call it. And it was in 2009, that is Daimabad placed. Daimabad discovered, which is in Maharashtra, located in the banks of river Pravara, one of the tributaries of river Godavari placed. So in future, a site may discover maybe on eastern, maybe on southern, and maybe like towards north. Forget about west, we are not associated because it belongs to Pakistan. So the point is, no doubt boundaries are static in nature, but when it comes to Indus Valley boundaries, dynamic. Now with this background, when we understand the northern boundary of Indus Valley civilization, you better have some sort of direction so that you can easily remember northern boundary, that is Manda place. Manda, which is located on Chenab river. Manda, Chenab river. The modern location of Manda, which comes in Kashmir. Now come down to south, the southern boundary, that is Daimabad. Southern boundary, Daimabad, located in the banks of river Pravara place. Pravara, Daimabad, Pravara. Pravara is one of the capitals of, one of the tributaries of river Godavari place. When it comes to east, Alamgirpur, located on the banks of river Ghagar Hakar Valley, Hindon, a small river in UP, please, Uttar Pradesh. Alamgirpur, which comes in Uttar Pradesh, UP. Alamgir, we'll be going to discuss as part of Mughal Empire, one of the rulers of Mughal Empire by name Aurangzeb, popularly called as Alamgir. And finally, the western boundary, that is Sutka Zendor. The western boundary, it's the name of the place, Sutka Zendor. The modern location of Sutka Zendor, which comes in Baluchistan, please, one of the provinces of Pakistan, Baluchistan, that is Makran coast. Right, it's all about extent of the civilization, otherwise called as boundaries of the civilization. I repeat, north, Jammu and Kashmir, south, Maharashtra, east, UP, Uttar Pradesh. When it comes to south, Baluchistan, Pakistan. As far as the period of civilization is concerned, unimportant, just to have an idea, you can note down only one, that is according to R.S. Sharma, the civilization flourished between 2500 BC to 1750 BC. Now with this background, when we understand the authors of civilization, one of the the important elements of Indus Valley civilization, who are the authors of civilization? Since we don't have the clarity over script, obviously we were forced to depend on archaeological evidences. So during archaeological evidences, we did come across various discoveries. So for example, to make you understand, we have bronze dancing girl, the image of bronze dancing girl, followed by the priest of a head, followed by Pashupati Mahadeva. We'll be going to speak in subsequent classes. Followed by the mother goddess images. So by looking at the images, the features of the respective images, archaeologists came up with a hypothesis, different opinions. And they branded Indus Valley civilization dominated by various races. Indus Valley civilization can also be called as cosmopolitan civilization. What does it mean by cosmopolitan? Can we call Hyderabad city as a cosmopolitan city? Can we call Hyderabad city as a cosmopolitan? How many says yes? Please raise your hand, including online students. Akkada yes ani cheppandi. Hand ettante kuduradannమాట. Good. Why Hyderabad can be called as cosmopolitan? Because it has got many cultures. Simple. Cosmopolitan, more than one, mixture of various, right? Maybe cultures, maybe languages, maybe religions, maybe people, different people, right? Cosmopolitan. Apply the same towards Indus Valley civilization. So cosmopolitan civilization. So when we understand the four different, like some text you come across three different, say races, and in some text you come across four different races. We have Mediterranean race. Just have an idea. Need not just have an idea. Mediterranean race, followed by Mongoloid, followed by Proto-Australoid. These are the races, please. Mongoloid race, right? Proto-Australoid race, Mediterranean race. Say for example, when it comes to Mongoloid race, nothing but the northeastern people, please. I'm talking about the physical features of northeastern people. Right? Northeast, Chinese, Japan, all these people, they belong to a race called Mongoloid, right? When it comes to Mediterranean, the best example, Indians, right? Especially South Indians, right? Mediterranean race we call them. When it comes to Proto-Australoid, we have the people of Istan countries today, right? Of Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, some XYZ countries, we have list of countries, Istan countries we call them. So the physical features of the respective people force the scholars to demarcate the respective races. In simple, you have an idea. When it comes to Indus Valley civilization, it was called as cosmopolitan because various races existed in Indus Valley civilization. Now just have an idea. What are the examples kind of? When I say Mongoloid race, the best example, the gentleman priest. So we call it the head of the priest, we call it. The head of the priest, Mongoloid. The stereotype image of beard man, priest. Now this particular image which we discovered from Mohenjo-daro, followed by Proto-Australoid, the bronze dancing girl. Once again from Mohenjo-daro, the bronze dancing girl. So these are the hypotheses. Just have an idea. Right? Alpinoid. కొంతమంది ఎంథ్యూసిజం అది హెయిర్ సెలూన్ కటింగ్ అసరని చెప్పారు. ఎవడి పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ ఆడది. And finally, Mediterranean. In fact, the maximum scholars opine that Indus Valley civilization dominated by Mediterranean race. In fact, we have two terms which we supposed to understand in order to get command over in subsequent classes. We are going to use frequently two terms, that is Nordic followed by Mediterranean, right? I'm talking about races, like two predominant races. And no doubt, once again, hypothesis, but widely accepted hypothesis. When I say Nordic race, Aryans belonged to Nordic race. The question is, who are Aryans? At present, according to an hypothesis, the people of North India. The people of North India, Aryavarta, the Sanskrit where we found in Rig Veda, Aryavarta, Varta, territory, please. The territory inhabited by Aryans, Aryavarta. North India otherwise called as Aryavarta. So Aryans belonged to a race called Nordic race. Then how about South Indians, otherwise called as Dravidian race? We'll be going to discuss once again this particular element as part of decline of Indus Valley civilization, once again as part of Vedic civilization. We have one more element, Nordic versus Mediterranean, Aryans versus Dravidian. Very basic concept, a little bit confusion. Very simple. The people of North India, otherwise called as Aryans, belonged to a race called Nordic race. The people of South India, otherwise called as Dravidians, belonged to a race called Mediterranean race, no doubt about it. Now with this background, when we understand one more technical term, that is Aryans and Dravidians. Basically the term called Aryan and the term called Dravidian, scholars generally used for language. A group of people in North India who are associated with Aryan language, thereby they were called as Aryans, right? You also call them Indo-Aryan languages. That will be discussed once we enter into Vedic civilization. Then how about South Indian people? Does that mean they were associated with Dravidian group? The answer is yes. The Dravidian languages are nothing but South Indian languages. We have Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, Tamil. Right? South Indian languages were called as Dravidian languages. So here Aryan is a linguistic term. When it comes to Nordic is a racial expression. Dravidian is a linguistic term when it comes to Mediterranean race. Right. Now with this background, when we understand the origin of civilization or the birthplace of civilization, you call it. So as far as origin of civilization is concerned, as I was telling, we have two broader opinions among the scholars. The same stuff, more or less the same stuff, same content will be going to use even for Aryan civilization. Just for our understanding levels, unimportant, just to have an idea. That is foreign origin theory and native origin theory. Right? Unimportant, which is meant for academics, please, just to have an idea. Right? Because when you have an idea, the same content, the same episode that will be discussed as part of Aryan civilization. Same foreign origin theories followed by native origin theories. So what does it mean by foreign origin theories? Obviously, the foreign origin theory, it's an hypothesis. Even native origin theory is also hypothesis. We have learned in the previous session, hypothesis is nothing but developing theories based on scanty evidences, based on assumptions. I undechemo, ila jarigi undochemo kind of. In simple, emo concept, right? Hypothesis. So a group of people, when I say group of scholars, you call them, especially the foreign scholars. When I say foreign scholars, those scholars who are associated with discovery of civilization and other stuff, they opine that the Indus people who developed the civilization between 2500 BC to 1750 BC, they were not locals but non-locals, migrated people. And if you ask the question, fine, from where did they come? From where did they come? They answer, they came from Central Asia. When I say Central Asia, as I was telling, already a civilization was flourishing. What is the name of the civilization? Mesopotamian civilization. And if you ask the question, why did they come? అక్కడ ఎక్కువ పాపులేషన్ ఉంది. ఇట్ట కూడా ఉందా? అవును, అక్కడ ఎక్కువ పాపులేషన్ ఉంది. సో వాళ్ళకు సరైన వసతులు లేక మెల్లగా ఏ కూతురు దొరకకపోతే అక్క కూతురని ఇక్కడికి వచ్చారని చెప్పారన్నమాట. The main motto of foreigners, they never wanted to give credit to Indians. ఎవడి బొమ్మకు వాడి స్క్రిప్ట్ అన్నారు. మాకే లేదు, మీకుందా, మీరు మీ ముఖాలు. రైట్, we were ruling you people, Britishers first. British Empire where sun never sets. రవి అస్తమించిన సామ్రాజ్యం, we call it in Telugu. మాకే లేదు సివిలైజేషన్, మీ ముఖాలు అద్దంలో చూసుకున్నారండి. సో ఏదో మీకు అదృష్టమో దురదృష్టమో ఏదో ఒక సివిలైజేషన్ ఉంది, బట్ దీస్ పీపుల్ నాట్ యువర్ పీపుల్ అని చెప్పాను. హూస్ పీపుల్ అంటే పక్కింటి పీపుల్ అని చెప్పాను. అక్కడ చాయ్ చక్కెర లేదు, ఏం లేదు, ఇక్కడికి వచ్చి తీసుకున్నారని చెప్పారు. And apply the same towards destruction of the civilization. The origin and destruction of Indus Valley civilization both are attributed to foreigners. కనీసం డిస్ట్రక్షన్ అన్న మా మొఖాన్ని కొట్టాలని చెప్పారు. కుదరదు, వాళ్ళకి ఇచ్చేసాం చెప్పారు. So from Central Asia, when I say Central Asia, Mesopotamians, over a period of time, they what do we call, got migrated and like, developed the scripts, developed the civilization kind of. Keeping aside the foreign origin, then how about native origin, right? We have R.S. Sharma, Professor A. Ghosh and other like, Indian historians and archaeologists, they outrightly rejected the concept called foreign elements. Right? Indian historians and Indian scholars opine that before civilization, keep aside civilization, before civilization we found many cultures, as we referred, that is Paleo, Meso, Neo, Chalco. Right? So before Indus Valley civilization, Indian subcontinent experienced various cultures. These cultures over a period of time assumed the color and character called civilization. What does it mean by culture? Way of life. Civilization? Advanced way of life. When you don't have way of life, forget about advanced way of life. This is how Indian historians countered foreigners. So they argued that Indus people were native people, right? No second thought. Before civilization, they were associated with various cultures. And these cultures over a period of time assumed like, so many developments. That is the reason we branded these developments as civilization. So Indus Valley civilization. Now the question is, in order to call particular culture as civilization, culture and civilization, as we know, culture is nothing but way of life, civilization is nothing but advanced way of life. So in order to call particular culture as civilization, what are the prerequisites according to archaeologists? If you find these prerequisites in any culture, that culture can also be called as civilization. In the first instance, the main criteria to call particular culture as a civilization, the culture must have script, followed by urban centers or urbanization, you call them. The best example, Indus towns and cities. We'll be going to discuss at least half a dozen important towns and cities, right? We have Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Chanhu-daro, Lothal, whatnot. These are the towns and cities, right? Urbanization, we call it. Followed by trade and commerce, especially external trade. Another prerequisite, try to understand. Another prerequisites to call particular culture as civilization, trade and commerce. In trade and commerce, we have two elements, internal trade and external trade. We'll be going to discuss in subsequent classes. Indus Valley civilization maintained the Harappans had brisk trade, we call it. They were good at internal trade, they were also good at external trade. The commodities of Indus Valley civilization, huge demand in Mesopotamian civilizations and even Egyptian civilization, external trade. And followed by technological advancements. So if you find all these elements in any culture, that culture can be branded as civilization. And you can ask the question, does that mean for the first time we found all these elements, a culture which flourished between 2500 BC to 1750 BC, thereby we call it as civilization? The answer is yes. Simple. So పిచ్చి మాటలు మాట్లాడకండి. మా దగ్గర కల్చర్స్ ఉన్నాయి, సంస్కృతి అంటాం తెలుగులో. We had cultures. These cultures over a period of time emerged as civilization. So this is how we need to understand it. So that is hypothesis, you call them. Right? So those scholars were associated with foreign origin theory. That is, they say Indus people hail from Mesopotamian, especially Martimum Wheeler. This Babu placed. But smart gunnadu sir, atlandike cheppadu anamata. So Martimum Wheeler says Indus Valley civilization is an offshoot. It's a branch of Mesopotamian, he says. Wheeler, Martimum Wheeler, you call him Indologist. We have learned in the previous session, Indologist, Indology, a foreigner who studies Indian culture. So when it comes to Baluchi theory, this particular theory, it comes under native origin theory, please. Native origin theory, just have an idea. So now what we call scholars by name Professor Rafiq Mughal, one of the archaeologists from Pakistan, this gentleman says, before Indus Valley civilization, northwestern India was an abode of various cultures. Right? You call say especially Mesolithic, we have Neolithic, and especially of Chalcolithic. As I was telling in the previous session, Chalcolithic cultures maintained commercial relations and other sorts of relations with Indus Valley civilization. So this gentleman opines that Indus people did not come from foreign, but they were native people. Right? So in northwestern India, we found many cultures, like he gives an example of Job culture. Job, it's the name of the place, how we discussed Ahar, Gilind, Jorve, like some sort of Chirand kind of, right? Job culture, followed by Kulli culture, it's the name of the place, followed by Nal culture and Quetta. Quetta is the headquarters of Balochistan place. Quetta culture. Right? So these cultures for a period of time assumed the color and character called civilization. So Baluchi theory we call it. Now these youngsters who branded the Indus people were not foreigners but natives, that is Professor A. Ghosh, H.D. Sankalia, R.S. Sharma, the gentleman please, R.S. Sharma. When it comes to H.D. Sankalia, it's one of the tall name in archaeology please. So before Harappan civilization or Indus Valley civilization, we had cultures, you also call them pre-Harappan cultures, and all these pre-Harappan cultures emerged as civilization. Right. So when it comes to major sites, we'll have a pause, I can understand. Huh? मैं समझदार हूँ, I can understand, right? So we'll have a pause, we'll continue the next class, please. So shall we have tomorrow exam? Bhutpada maatladena. I was asking, shall we have exam tomorrow, right? So we have the habit of conducting exams after completion of a chapter, please. We have started with, in fact, sources, keep aside sources, though important component. We have completed a chapter called Prehistoric Cultures. So we'll have one exam on prehistoric cultures, include sources, a few questions from sources and all. So writing exam and after exam question paper discussion will be there. అంటే ఇప్పుడు క్వశ్చన్స్ అడుగుతావు సార్ బరాబర్ అడుగుతారు అలా అయితే క్వశ్చన్ పేపర్ డిస్కషన్ మేము రామ్ సార్ వీటిని తగ్గించుకోవాలని చెప్తున్నాం. ఎగ్జామ్ రాయాలి, అర్థం చేసుకోవాలి, క్వశ్చన్ పేపర్ డిస్కషన్లో పార్టిసిపేట్ చేయాలి. ఆఫ్టర్ రైటింగ్ లైక్ an exam, you shall discuss among yourselves. Like sit a group of people, like I went for this. If it is wrong, like why it is wrong. So discussion is important. Merely writing exams doesn't make any sense. Start discussing among yourselves. So tomorrow or day after tomorrow we'll be going to have exam on prehistoric cultures. So with this we'll have a pause. We'll continue the next class. Thank you. No, objective please. Prelims. Descriptive starts from Mauryan onwards. In fact, obviously from Jainism and Buddhism onwards. Right?